Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Procurement Masterclass Guide to Working with Caltrans. And we are in session 4. So session 4 is access to capital. So this has been we've had three other sessions of just really great information from the Caltrans team, Pace, and then other guests that we have. So welcome, and then hopefully you're all rested from a long 3-day weekend. So we'll get started. In the meantime, as I mentioned, for people who are coming in late, if you want to put your name down on the chat, so put down your name, your company, industry, and then also where you're coming from, the location, so we can get to know where you are. Then I just wanted to, oops. Okay, just a few housekeeping items. Just make sure you're on listening mode. And please use the raise hand function if you would like to ask questions later on. But if you do have any questions in the meantime, any burning questions, if you can put it on the Q&A. So two places, you can put yourself on the Q&A or you can put it on the chat, but it's a little bit hard to kind of keep track of it on the chat. So Q&A if you are inclined to do so. And then we will have some a Q&A session towards the end, about 10 minutes, and then we will be recording these sessions. So please visit our e-library. And what's going to go happen is after these sessions, I usually send out some information, the slides, and then any other contact information that we have of the speakers. So if you are attending this, no worries, we can have a recording for you later on. And then please complete our survey when the webinar ends. We really appreciate the feedback that you have. Okay, and just a little bit of information about PACE. So for those of you who are returning, welcome. Welcome to our last session. And for those of you who are new, we are PACE, Pacific Asian Consortium in Employment, and I am Christina Espiritu, and I work for the procurement team. And then PACE is a nonprofit organization. We've been around since the 70s. But the Business Development Center, which is what I'm part of, has been around since the 90s. And what we work with small business owners and entrepreneurs like you in providing technical assistance in many different facets of the business process, right? But right now we're concentrating on procurement. So we have one-on-one consulting. So we work with, excuse me, needs and marketing assessment. And then in particular, I work with procurement. So if you have any burning procurement questions later on, I'd be happy to help you. And one thing I always forget to mention, and it's very important, is that PACE is a nonprofit, so we provide our services free of charge. So make sure you take advantage of the services that we have. And then we have an entrepreneurial training program where we work with a lot of businesses that are in the early stage. And then we have business courses and then webinars such as these. We also do small business financing, and one of my colleagues, Jennifer, will talk about that later on, the small business financing that we provide under PACE. So with that said, I wanted to go ahead and first introduce our representative from Caltrans District 7. So Roberto, if you can take it from here, and I will go ahead, feel free to introduce yourself and then do your slides. So let me just do that.
All right. Ready to go?
Thank you,
Perfect. Well,
Alberto.
no, thank you everyone for having me. Again, my name is Roberto Perez. I am a government affairs liaison for Caltrans District 7, which represents both Los Angeles and Ventura counties. I'll be covering for my colleague Myrna, who is our small business liaison, and I'll be sure to provide her contact information during my PowerPoint as well as in the chat. So if you have any questions after the meeting, please feel free to share those as well. But let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can you all see that okay?
Yes, yeah, perfect.
All right. So again, Myrna Tanujaha is our district small business liaison. Again, we cover District 7, which is both Los Angeles and Ventura counties. So a pretty big footprint here for Caltrans in Southern California. And the best way to reach us is our small business email, which is d7smallbusiness@dot.ca.gov. And then also, what I would like to do is just read a little bit of information for you in regards to the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination based upon race, color, and national origin. And specifically, 42 USC 2000D states that, quote, no person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. And I'll be sure to link that statement along with additional information regarding the Civil Rights Act and Title VI in the chat box as well. And then also wanted to share the certifications that Caltrans recognizes. So we have the small business portion certification. We have the disabled veteran business enterprise certification, as well as the disadvantaged business enterprise or DBE as well. So those are the three main certifications that we here at Caltrans recognize. And then also wanted to provide you with our certification branch contact. So then if you have any questions on how do I get certified, any kinds of lingering questions on the certification process itself, feel free to reach out to this email, which is dbe.certification@dot.ca.gov. And then you can also reach out to Cal eProcure, which is going to be the website where if you're already certified, you can go in there and then you'll be able to have access to the information and opportunities that are available to you as a small business as well. And so again, that is the Cal eProcure website. So caleprocure.ca.gov. And then again, just wanted to reemphasize that I'm covering for my colleague Myrna today. So she's our direct small business liaison. And any inquiries you have, she could be reached at d7smallbusiness@dot.ca.gov. And so that's all I have to share. So I'll pass it on back over to you, Christina.
Thank you, Roberto. Thank you for introducing Caltrans and also sharing the contact information with us. So with that said, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Doreen Smith from the California State Treasurer's Office, who'll talk to us about access to capital links. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. You can see our presentation, correct?
Yes, thanks, Doreen.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Doreen Smith, and I am with the State Treasurer's Office with the California Pollution Control Financing Authority, which is one of the financing authorities here in the Treasurer's Office. And our authority is chaired by the Treasurer herself. So under the within CPCFA, we have a program called CalCap, which is our California Capital Access Program, which we administer with participating lenders to provide loans to small businesses that have up to 750 employees, and that includes the very small companies where it could just be one employee, and nonprofits. So CalCap is here to help small businesses. And so the basics are that, like I stated, we're within the state treasurer's office, and the tools CalCap provides to our participating financial institutions are to assist them in reducing the risks to lending to small businesses and nonprofits. And this generally allows the institutions to be more confident and willing to make the loans. And in general, the way our loan loss reserve program works is that where's this coming up later? Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. The financial institutions supply the funding for the loans. And so they do their own independent underwriting. And then the small businesses apply directly to the lender, and the financial institutions then enroll those loans with CalCap. We also have a collateral support program, which is this is usually for much larger investments. And this program actually provides a cash collateral directly to the lender, up to 50% of the amount of the loan. So they can have that collateral on hand. And this one is usually for more established businesses that just are a little short in collateral. So they usually have resources, good credit history, but they're getting a larger loan and are short on collateral. Whereas our CalCap for Small Business program is a loan loss reserve program where they're for much smaller loans, and a percentage of each loan is placed in the loan loss reserve account. And so the lender then builds, with the more loans they enroll, they build up this account, and then it makes it, then they have a pool to draw from in case of a loan default. So that's why they feel more confident making loans to a small business that might not have a strong credit history. And the hope is they also usually provide better terms on the loans too, lower interest rates. And so CalCap also reaches out to the underserved businesses. So we have these categories listed here where we draw from and provide funding to very small businesses, which would be 9 or fewer employees. SETI, which stands for Socially and Economically Disadvantaged Individual, a business location or owner within a CDFI investment area, and a borrower who has less access to credit due to their experience. And then we have what we call severely affected community, which is a business borrower that's located in an area with a high unemployment rate, a disaster zone, an opportunity zone, something like that. And so CalCap provides additional contributions to the lender for anyone in any of these categories. Additionally, CalCap launched within the last year or two zero emission programs. And so one of them is our zero emission heavy duty program for trucks. And this one is, you can, CalCap did run a program for years with California Air Resources Board, CARB, for funding diesel trucks, but now the move is towards electric vehicles. So we run a program that with CARB that can finance these heavy duty trucks that qualify throughout the state. We run a program with Southern California Edison that finances the trucks and infrastructure within Southern California Edison's service area. And we also run a program in conjunction with the California Energy Commission, which is for the infrastructure to charge these vehicles. And when enrolling in these zero emission programs, borrowers can also take advantage of any other programs that are out there, vouchers or other incentives, because we realize the costs of these trucks are high. And so borrowers are eligible to use any incentives and combine them all together to lower the amount of the loan. Now here, the next steps for using CalCap. Number one, we really encourage a small business to work with a business coach to get themselves loan ready. And once they feel loan ready, they go ahead and apply to a CalCap lender. And CalCap does have a list of participating lenders, and many of them lend throughout the state of California. So it doesn't necessarily have to be where you're located. Many of them service the entire state. And we have some QR codes here for you for areas where you can get some support. And one of them is Cal OSBA, where they'll provide you some support in getting yourself loan ready. CalCap has lender loan info at the second QR code here. And then our host today, ProcureLA, offers business coaching and is also a CalCap participating lender. And here is our contact information. So feel free to check out our website and reach out to CalCap and CPCFA for further information. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Doreen. And I thank you for all the information. And we will be sending the slides. So if you didn't get a chance to click on the QR code or get their contact information, no worry, because I will send this information after. So with that said, thank you. And then I would like to introduce Jennifer Whelan, who is from PACE, who'll talk about other access to capital that's available through PACE.
Oh, Jennifer, you're on mute. Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
So hi everyone. Thank you so much for spending your noon time to communicate with us. To see how we can assist you and reach out to any other opportunities or resources. So I learned a lot from Doreen as well, because PACE is the lender for part of the participating for CalCap programs, but we usually just use the guarantee program, and now I learned there's other programs too. So this is always good to communicate and learn. So today, my topic is talk about access to capital. So so I want to step back to take actually took one step back to see what other opportunities out there and what the challenges out there as a small business owners when you go into the government contract, such as Caltrans programs, right? So I saw on the chat box, a lot of them the attendees, you're already in business, and then you are already have contracts with Caltrans, or you're thinking to get more, get some contracts from Caltrans, right? So a lot of them maybe just use the example. Joe is already having a roofing company for 3 years, and he's interested in expand his business to business segment, because right now he's mostly doing the residential field. So Joe thinks he has the required license already to provide services to different agencies. And he already, through the help of other supporting partners, he already got the certification. So now he's ready to charter into this new field. So at this time, what should Joe do, right? Of course, Joe needs to learn more about how to identify contract opportunities, by attending webinars and seminars like this, and to get to know Caltrans or other big agencies, as well as other big primes. So some of the, and then with the help of the direct marketing activities, like connections, and also go through different kind of websites that, then you can find those leads. But once that Joe identified those contracts, what should Joe do? For me as a lender, we want to help small business to be ready. So that's why I want to go back one step to say, hey, now Joe identified this opportunity. What should he do? I know a lot of the other part of the seminar already covered that, right? You should look at what this RFP, request for proposal, what is asking for. Is this a fixed price contract? Is it this like cost reimbursement or time and material basis? What's the total amount? And how much, how long does he need to perform this, complete these contracts? And what's the payment terms by the prime or even like, for example, Caltrans? So is this contract require bond, payment, performance bonds or payment bonds and you name it? And then is there any change of orders allowed? So why is this important? I'm quite sure the other series already mentioned that why those terms are important. But I want to explain from the lender's point of view, all the items mentioned here is very critical, not only to you to related to how you access to capital from a lender's point of view or the equity's point of view. Because you need to understand all of those to evaluate, does the company has the sufficient capital, so operating capacity to fulfill those contracts? Should you go after those type of contracts? Because Caltrans work, you may, from Joe's point example, he may just doing residential work. So he may need less equipment, but for Caltrans, the scope of the works might be larger. So does Joe's company has the equipment needed to fulfill what the contracts, the RFP is requiring? Does Joe has the staff in place if there's a contract awarded? Is there any new reporting system will be needed in order to submit the correct pay applications to Caltrans? And then do they have keep the records ready for when in the future when Caltrans comes to audit the client? So do you have a system in place? That's something that as a company's owner, you need to think about all those things because all those tied to dollar sign. And if you need equipment, you might need additional capital purchase equipment. If you need to hire new people, you will have in new payrolls. And then also Caltrans may pay you in 45 days. Or Caltrans may pay you a little bit sooner in 30 days. I know Caltrans is working really hard to pay subcontractors or contractors earlier. But because you still need to complete the work and submit the pay applications, by the time you get paid, most likely it's about 45 days later. So all those is related to, can you fulfill these contracts? Do you have the capabilities to borrow money or to ask for investors to fulfill those contracts? This is all related to dollar signs, that this is something that as a business owner, you need to look at your operations as well as your financial situations to see. If you already have those in place, now only what you need is just like, oh, okay, I need to borrow or I need to find an investor. But all my paperwork, all my calculations are ready. Now we can, really dive into when you go to a lender or you go to equity investor, say, I think this through. This is a contract I'm bidding for. This is my profit margin, but I just need the working capital to cover the gap. So if that's the situation, you need the working capital to cover the gap. So now there's a financing cost because equity investors or lenders will not give you money for free. There's always a cost. It's just depending on how you paid it back. And also, if this contract requires bonds, bond policy also costs you money. So when you bid for any contracts, that you should not only look at the contract amount, your cost, you need to really consider any financing costs as well. So otherwise, you will end up in the situations of you underbid. So I think this is the last things for Caltrans, or they want to see, right? Okay, great, give you a contract. And then you think, okay, I have the enough profit to perform, but ends up you still have to, you forgot to factor in the financing costs. And then you go to Caltrans and say, oops, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. So this put, Caltrans in a very difficult situations as well. This is the last thing they want to see. And then as a lender, it's the last thing we want to see as well, because any lenders or any equity investors, once we commit to work with you, we are on the same boat. So as a business owner, all those things I would suggest you give all those into considerations and then and then you go into, do you want to bid for this contract? When you bid for this contract, am I taking all the costs into considerations, not just the direct material, direct labor, but any other costs, including financing costs and bonding costs into it? So now, okay, you're ready. You're done. You can make the calculations, and then you think I already include all of those. So now I think I have a plan. I have a and then I believe the Caltrans and other government agency, they're reasonable to give allow certain gross profit margins and the net profits to us. So now I'm ready to go into getting this contract. So what can you do? So we can this is just like a cycle for any small business owner. You can take into it why I emphasize on you need to factor all the costs in the bidding process, because once your contract's awarded, and then you go into look at all the financing costs or look at the look for lenders or equity investors, a little bit too late, right? So the common challenge is always you have like the upfront costs. How can we get the fundings for any companies to buy equipment or materials when you are switching from a relatively smaller scale to right now a larger scale, right? And also the because of the project is more complicated, now you're involved, the approval process for any pay applications a little bit more than you're used to be. So it ends up with a little bit of later payment time. So now this is, as a savvy business owner, you should look into your options. Just like when you get started, you look at your own personal finance. As the owner, do you have additional capital you can put into this project? For example, do you have any more personal savings you can invest in this project or this new business segments? For example, we just use a contract as an example. Like, okay, now you get a contract from awarded from Caltrans, and then it's 500,000. You need to perform in 3 months, and then your payroll, it's about usually, let's say 20% of the 20% of the 30% of the contract. So roughly 500,000 multiplied by 30%. Now you have $150,000 of payroll, more or less, and then you have to perform in 3 months. Then you're basically your monthly payroll $50,000 plus other benefits close to 60, right? So do you have the funding from your personal savings or retirement accounts, or maybe a HELOC from your home, a home equity line from your home that you can pull to invest into the business? This is one question you can think about. Secondly is equity financing. Can you find other people to invest in your company? Because, for example, in Joe's case, he may talk to his brother-in-law, say, hey, I've been doing so successful in residential area. Now I'm ready and I get all the certificates, and I know I have the know-how to start a bid for government contract, especially Caltrans, because I already got the certifications. I'm a veteran. I have DVBE certificate. So Caltrans, I think the high probability they will give me contracts, and I know how to perform it. And I went through all the trainings. I know how to do the paperwork and that kind of thing. So his brother-in-law may say, great, I fully support you. I do see the potential in you. So maybe the brother-in-law will invest 20%, maybe invest 100,000 to the business. But in exchange, the brother-in-law may ask for, okay, I want 10% of the company's shares. So Joe has to give up maybe 10% of the ownership of the company to his brother-in-law. But the good thing is that because it's an equity investment, you don't need to make monthly payments, especially when the company is growing. After you perform the first contract with Caltrans and it's successful, Caltrans may award you more contracts. So during the process, when the company is growing, cash flow is always a little bit tight. So for equity financing, in this case is Joe's brother-in-law, that's great because Joe doesn't need to make monthly payments to his brother-in-law every month while the company is growing, even though he has to, in exchange, he have to give up 10% of the company's ownership. So that's a trade-off. But maybe Joe doesn't like to go that route. He's like, oh, maybe my brother-in-law, I know him. I like his idea of he invest in the company, even though he will say he's a silent partner. He will not have his input in my business operations. But who knows, you know? So I don't want someone to give me like opinions on how to run my business, because I know my business doing well and I know how to run it. I don't want to have other people to get involved in the operations. So Joe does not want to do equity financing. So what can Joe do? At this point, he can look into debt financing, right? So this is more, we'll focus a little bit more on debt financing, because even though this is like access to capital sessions, because we are lenders. So in this case, Joe maybe invested 50,000 from his own money, and then he needs about 200,000 to perform this project. He still have a short for 150. And then he's not going to get the investment from his brother. He doesn't want to give up the ownership of the company. So he comes to borrow. So he invests in 50 and the working capital need is 200. So now he needs to borrow $150,000. So those are the different debt financing opportunities out there, or products out there. You know, we all know business credit cards or business line of credits or term loans or other type of financing. You know, so those we can go into details to compare each one's goods and bads, pros and cons, and for each product. But I'd like to explain a little bit more on the landscape of lendings out there. So a lot of the audience, I know that you're already in business. So typically, when you have a business account, main business account with a traditional bank, they might offer you a very small business credit card. I always tell them, take it. No matter how small, it's $500, take it. Because any banks, if you bank with them, if they offer you something, take it. Because this is indications of you should start to building a relationship with. And also it's a sign that they want to build a relationship with you. So if your primary checking account, business accounts bank, and then wants to offer you something, basically, I would highly recommend you just take it, because this will start a strong relationship down the road. And in Joe's case, he's already in business for 3 years. And then I just use the example, right? Let's assume he banked with Chase. Chase may look at his history and then his tax returns and may offer Joe a loan. Either what type of loan, is a term loan or line of credit, all those we can go into details or a little bit further. But if Chase offered Joe a term loan or a business loan, we call it portfolio loans, but basically, which means that this is a loan that Chase offer. I highly recommend any small business owners, if your primary banks offer you a loan, take it, because that will be, they have the lowest interest rate, lowest closing costs, and then and usually the longer term. Because if a bank offer you something, or if you go to apply for a loan for a bank, if they approve, which means that you have the lowest risk, and which means that the bank is willing to work with you directly. So usually those are the best options that you will have. So I would highly recommend you take it. But in Joe's case, because he's entering into a new segments, and then the loan amount requested is a little bit higher than, let's say, Chase is willing to do. But Chase is still like them, because Joe is still banking with Chase, and then Chase can see his business growing, but they just don't want to lend their own money at this point to 100% to Joe. So what would they do? A lot of the time, most of the time, in this case, let's say Chase, they will send to another department within Chase. So this department will be either we call the SBA loan or iBank, the state guarantee loan, or CalCap guarantee. And the other department will look at Joe's case and thinking, okay, we don't want to take 100% of the risk to fund Joe, but we want to help him to grow. So what they do is that the bank will package the loan and will send a package in these situations, especially like Doreen mentioned, if there's only 50,000 and below, they will approve the loan with the conditions that this loan will send to CalCap for guarantee, which basically means that the borrower has to pay a fee Calculated guarantee fee, almost like an insurance to put into the pool. And then to put in, just like what Doreen said, is the reserve into the bank's reserve. And then in the event of this case doesn't perform, and then the lender can go to the pool to get some compensations back. So this is something a lot of the lender, they might do it like, when they like you, but they don't feel 100% comfortable working with you, give you a loan, they will send to their other department for like either SBA, IBank, or Calculated guarantee. But they are still your lender. It's just like you have an extra step you have to go through and to lower the risk the banks will bear. But sometimes they will say, Chase may think, this is too risky. We still don't want to do it yet. So this is how CDFIs like PACE, PACE is one of the CDFIs will come in. I always joke about that we are the bank's little cousins, and then we do the loans a little bit smaller than what they usually want to do, or a little bit riskier than their own lending criteria. CDFIs are all mission-driven lenders. We want to help small business and help jobs to create jobs locally. So that's why CDFIs will have a slightly different underwriting criteria. And then a lot of the time we'll send same with a PACE as a CDFI. We also send the loans to CalCap to seek for guarantee. And then because this is considered a little bit higher risk loan, so of course your loan amount will be lower, and then your interest will be slightly higher than the traditional banks, and you have some kind of closing fee, and then there will be a guarantee fee for sure. So we are, like we do the loans that typical banks would not do at this stage, and then this is how we work with a lot of the traditional banks and conventional banks, and how we work with CalCap. Of course, there's other lenders out there. There's some online lenders. If anyone's in businesses, if a restaurant, they heard about MCAs, merchant loans, and that type of thing. And those will be a lot easier to get. But of course, because they're easy to get, which means that the underwriting process is less, which means the risk is high to the lender. So of course, it will have interest rates and a higher closing fee. But overall, this is the lending landscapes out there. And PACE as a nonprofit as well as a CDFI, we're here to help you to navigate the whole system. And I always explain to my clients that there's no good or bad products, absolute good or bad products. There's only products is good or bad for you at your stage. Because you might really want to, of course, we want to get the bank loan, right? Because that's the lowest interest rate and then lowest fee. But if the bank doesn't give you their loan, for example, Joe's case, if Chase declined his case, but he already have the contract awarded, and he's properly incorporated into the good finance, a sufficient finance cost in the beginning, and into his profit margin. He knows he has profit margin to pay for those costs. At this point, it's better off for Joe to take a loan from a CDFI, even though the interest is a little bit higher, even though there's CalCap guarantee fee, rather than Joe cannot get any loans and everything have to come out from his own capital injections, because his own capital injections have his own cost of capital as well, right? So I always explain to the clients, there is no absolute good or bad products. There's only pros and cons for the products for you at this point. And this is how nonprofits, including PACE, is here to help to explain to you what your options out there. I think in Joe's case, the critical item here is to get the contract performed. You don't want to go back to Roberto and say, okay, I forgot to factor my financing costs. I cannot fulfill my contracts, right? If you already capture, you already prepare, do your homework and include a certain financing costs in the beginning, you know that you have money to pay for it. And you shouldn't just say, oh, because I cannot get a loan from a bank. I rather don't get any loans and then tell Roberto's and Caltrans say, oh, I cannot perform the contract. So it's all depending on what you can get at that moment. And then what's the timing? So very important, right? So as I mentioned here for CDFIs, we have a little bit more longer longer underwriting process as comparing to some of the online lenders or some other alternative lenders. But if you are on the very strict timeline to perform the contract for Caltrans, if any right now, especially SBA, I'm not talking about bad things about SBA, but no, SBA takes like 45 days for the turnaround time. If you already get the notice proceed from Caltrans, from Roberto's team that say, hey, this you need to perform, like your notice proceed is starting in the mid-June, you won't be able to get a loan from SBA. So you may CalCap maybe have a little bit higher guarantee fee as comparing to SBA's guarantee fee, but hey, like we mentioned, it's more important you get it rather than you delay and you cannot fulfill the contract on the same time. So when you select a lender, those are items you should all consider together instead of just like one particular items. And then that's how I think PACE as well as other nonprofits here to help to compare, to explain to you what you can, what was your option at this point and what's the pros and cons for each options. Because you're good at building your business, you're good at getting the contract, you're good at managing the contract and perform it, and you're good at submitting the pay applications as well as handling all the paperwork that in the future for the audit, right, by Caltrans. But let us help you for here to look at the financing options out there. So I think we this is I already touched on this, and then not only on the loans, there's other CDFIs including PACE, but there's also bond. A lot of the small business owner may face the challenge about bonding. And why would I mention bonds here? Is not related to loan, but this is also equivalent. It's also a form of financing that you need to get, because if you don't have the required bond by Caltrans, you won't be able to fulfill, you won't be able to bid for the contracts. And bonds has a cost. So it's similar to loans that have the bonding company will underwrite your case and look at your performance and look at your past performance, and you need to capture the cost into your bid proposals, just like any potential cost for the loan. But there's other nonprofit organizations out there to help you, to walk you through those process. So I think just want to touch base really quick here that for entrepreneurs who wants to go into the this charter, into this fields of government contract and procurements, right? So remember, the project owners on your side as well as the lenders on your side, because we want, once they awarded you a contract, once they select you as award you the contract, they want you to be successful. The last thing they want is to, I need to replace, find another one, because this is time is also money for anyone, not just you, but same thing for the government agencies as well. Secondly, is that for even though we talk about access to capital here, any lenders, any bonding company will require you to have a very strong financial records. Otherwise, you won't be able to apply for any loans or any bonds. Same thing for equity investors. If I'm going to invest a company to get some shares of the company, I want to see the numbers as well, right? Not just only believe that, okay, Joe's brother-in-law, okay, Joe, you're my brother-in-law, I'm just going to give you the money. So that's not that situation. You should always have your financial records ready. Even you're a startup, you should capture all your startup costs, because that's your investment into the business. You should you say, oh, my company is still pre-revenue, but you have costs. Those are your capital injections, remember, in the beginning. So this is part of it. And then, so you should keep a very clear financial records. Without that, no one has the magic can help you to do anything. Especially, I know a lot of us, we hate to file tax, and every year we just kick the can down the road, and then, oh, March 15 doesn't matter because I just apply for extensions and that's okay. But lender, bonding companies, and or if even I'm an equity investor, I would like to look at your tax returns on time, because if you don't provide any tax returns, that I don't really know if your internal financials is accurate, because as a small business, no one will require you to give the auditing financials or even review financials by CPA. We just look at your tax return as one of the reliable documents to show as your financial records, right? So if you always kick the can down the road, right now, if, for example, you got a contract by Caltrans and need to start to perform in July, and any lender will ask you for the 2024 tax return, you say, oh, I'm not required to file yet. My deadline is September 15th. So this put the lender or anyone into a very difficult situation. I'm quite sure CalCap will review your file is saying that why don't you have 2024? And then and this is and then how about 2025? If you don't have those financial records ready, lender cannot do anything. CalCap cannot do anything, even though we're here to help. So I cannot emphasize more, like again and again, I cannot emphasize more to keep your strong financial records ready. Without that, nobody can do anything for you. We are here to help, but you need to help us to help you. And then another thing is that I think as the audience that you are all very savvy. You are already communicating with the different lenders. I know some of them already reach out to PACE. I saw the names in the audience, and also participate this kind of event, to talk to us and to get to know representatives like Doreen's from CalCap, because communication is very important. Through the communications, that you'll find what's the financing resources out there. Just like me, I attend this seminar. I learned a lot more about CalCap. I'm like, oh, maybe I have clients, they might have vehicles that in trucks, they might go through the other programs. So this is something that I learned today, and I might be able to help more of my clients. So this is also the best practice for in managing your financing in government contracts. I know the topic of today was access to capital, but without all of this, then you won't be able to have a good way to access to capital. This is what you should do on your way, that when you learn more about access capital, not only who are the lenders out there, but how to prepare for the what you should do to prepare for it. So I think we are running out of time a little bit, and then I'd like to just open the floor for Q&As for the audience to everyone. And then if you want to know more about, how lenders look at each case or go into the details, those will be included in my slide, and I'm more than happy to have one-on-one consultants discussions with anyone.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Jennifer. And as she mentioned, so right now we're taking any questions. I'm looking and seeing if there are any right now. I don't see anything in the Q&A, so maybe we'll just give a few more minutes and see if they have any questions. But I just wanted to go and do a recap. So we will be sharing the slides later on from Jennifer and also from Doreen and then Roberto. So you have a full access to all the contact information from all our speakers today. So let's see. Yes, there you go. And let me just check. And then I wanted to just share. Oh, actually, let me see if there's a question. I see something. Oh, no, actually, it was just a thank you. Well, you're welcome. It was just a thank you to our speakers. So with that said, let me see.
Yeah, if there is, I can use 2 more minutes to explain to the audience, since if there's no other questions coming in at this point.
Yes.
So each lender, including the banks and including, I'm quite sure CalCaps, they will have the same overall frameworks to underwrite each case, to look at each case. So those are we call it the 6 C's of credit. Basically, it's cash flow, collateral, capitals, credit score, character, and communication. So most of lenders, right? We are all almost 99.9% of lenders, they are cash flow driven lenders, except some of them, they call it collateral based lenders. But even though it's a collateral based lender, eventually they still want to see if they can get their money back. So it's still, in some way, it's still cash flow lenders. They want to evaluate, and the business, do you have the capabilities of making loan repayments once the loan is issued, right? So if your business in the early stage, and then remember, loan is that you need to make payments every month, no matter what, you're profitable or not. So basically, if you are still in the early stage, I would highly recommend you go through the routes to look at equity financing, because lenders, they look at cash flow. This is critical. Collateral and capital and credit score, all those are just basically to help in the event that your business does not perform as it's projected and give the projected cash flow to make the loan repayments, what alternatives the lender will have, right, to go through the collaterals and maybe go to the our guarantee to the guarantee pool to get some coverage. But lenders, we don't like to use CalCap reserve. This is the last resort. We want you to be successful to make the loan payments on to us on time. And then CalCap, same here. They don't want to be like always just writing checks to cover any lenders the reserve, right? So they don't want to do that. CalCap wants you to be successful as well. And I think so this is an overall, you know, as a small business owners, this is some, even for mid-sized small business, those are the overall frameworks that any lenders look at. And then, but last thing, the communication, they cannot give any score. But again, communicate with them all the time or with the lenders all the time will bring you to the next level. They're your good friends. You know, lenders not just go after you to make you to collect the monthly payment. They actually can help you to grow further.
Okay, great. So let me just bring up a couple questions. So this is a question for Doreen. Someone, let me just look. It says, would you provide greater detail about the qualifications of the trucks program? They have a street sweeping and water trucks firm and would like to purchase trucks.
Hi, this is Allison. I work with Doreen as her outreach manager. The qualifications come from our funders, which, as Doreen mentioned, are California Air Resources Board and California Energy Commission statewide and Southern California Edison and their service area. And it's vehicles over 8,500 pounds gross vehicle weight rating, GVWR.
Got it. Okay. And then this may be a question for either one of you. Someone needs loans off of invoicing, and since they are in contract waiting for payment. So it's something of loans off of invoicing.
So CalCap works with lenders using their own underwriting. So we can't speak to which lender would consider that as a possible loan, unfortunately.
Yeah, so this is something I can jump in that, you know, so for if you those will be, you know, look at maybe PACE, we can talk to you to see if it fits our underwriting criteria. If PACE happen to have doesn't have appetite for your product, your situations, we can refer to other lenders may in the same industry. They will either go through CalCap or they might not go through CalCap. So that's why I mentioned that, you know, always talk to your lender and always talk to whoever's your banking relationship managers. They might refer you to the right resources. I do have questions for CalCap though. For the equipment, for the trucks, that kind of thing, do they apply? Do they go to you or apply directly, or you still go through lenders?
It's always through lenders. So when
even the truck, you still go through lenders, like
correct. We're never a direct lender. We don't have any funding that allows us to work as a direct lender. So we're always working with lenders. You can go to that lender list and it marks off which lenders are in which programs. And so you can see which ones have signed up for it there.
Thank you. And there's another question. What is an example of the guarantee fee or percentage range that an SBE would pay CalCap to secure the loan?
So, so the way that our fee structure works is that it's in negotiation with your lender. If the lender is using CalCap for small business, the range is from 2 to 3.5%. The lender chooses that percent, and both the lender and the borrower pay that unless the lender negotiates you into paying both. And then for CalCap collateral support, both of these are for like really broad, but we can accept almost any type of loan that the lender is willing to underwrite. That one is between 0.5% to 3.5%, depending on the length of time that the lender has selected to use it for. The truck, the CalCap Z VEHD, there is no fee paid by the lender or borrower because those contributions are made by the independent contributors, CARB, CEC, and Southern California Edison.
Okay, great. Thank you. And let me see. Another question is, why would an SBE choose CalCap versus the SBA?
So typically you would choose it based on what lender you're wanting to work with. CalCap is not, CalCap for one, we're not brand new. We've actually been around since 1994, but we exist to be another tool to lenders. We can do things like work with nonprofits, which SBA cannot. We can enroll larger loans that aren't just for real estate. We're structured differently. So it's a quicker process for lenders to enroll their loans with us than it is for SBA. So those are reasons why you might be working with your lender and they might be choosing to use it. But we're not really trying to like compete or go elbow to elbow with anybody. They're just different products with different features.
Exactly. There are just more choices and more alternatives.
Yes.
Right. Okay, great. Yeah, so and I don't see any other questions, but if you do, feel free to reach out to me. So this is my contact information, and I work with Jennifer. So then any questions that I have that you have that maybe for her, I'll be happy to pass it along as well. And then as I said, we'll be putting up all this information. I'll send up a follow-up email with all the slides. So I'll make sure that you have all the resources ready. So with that said, thank you so much. Let me just make sure last thing. Okay, I don't see any other questions, but thank you so much for speakers. Thank you, Roberto, Doreen, Allison, and then also Jennifer for participating in the session. And any recordings we will have soon in our e-library, and it will be the recordings for the last 4 sessions. But thank you so much for those who have attended all 4 or attended this one, and have a good rest of your day. So watch out for my follow-up email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.